With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. St. Kitts and Nevis highlights education strides at OAS meeting.
New picnic square named in honor of Dawud Madada Byron. St. Kitts and Nevis fire officials in discussion about training opportunities by Anguilla's Aviation Rescue Training Facility.
Kim Collins Athletic Stadium track upgrades continue. St. Lucia's investment minister reassures public amid EU visa regulation proposal. Grenada's EU visa-free access at risk. Internationally, Israel has given no response after medics killed in Gaza. Now, the details. During the recent regular meeting of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development, CIDI, of the Organization of American States, OAS, attention was directed toward policies and efforts aimed at broadening access to quality education. The Inter-American Council for Integral Development reports directly to the General Assembly of the Organization of American States. CIDI provides a platform for policy dialogue and decision-making on partnerships for integral development, focusing on advancing comprehensive development in all its dimensions, including social, economic, and sustainable development. During his intervention at the meeting, Augustine Skerritt, Minister Counselor, alternate representative to Her Excellency Jacinth Henry Martin, ambassador and permanent representative to the OAS, shared significant milestones in the nation's educational journey.
With regard to education, St. Kitts and Nevis began to make serious strides as far back as 1968.
Skerritt outlined pivotal initiatives undertaken that year to introduce universal education.
In that year, 3 important initiatives were introduced in order to usher in universal education. 1, the government abolished the gender-separated system that comprised a girls' high school and a grammar school for boys. 2, that system was replaced by an integrated, comprehensive high school system. 3, the entire school system from kindergarten to sixth form, primary and secondary levels, was made free for all and remains so today.
Skerritt further noted that in addition to these structural changes,
it became illegal for a child of school age to be kept out of school under normal circumstances, and parents and or guardians could be prosecuted for such an infraction. It was also recognized that good health is essential for effective learning, so a program of in-school vaccination was implemented.
The Minister Counselor detailed further advancements in the education sector.
Then, in the 1970s, the Free Teachers Training College was opened in order to improve the quality of instruction available to the children. As an aside, I must say that I'm a proud product of that Teachers Training College, that highly acclaimed institution. Later in that year, later in the early 1980s, the free school meals program was introduced at the primary school level.
Skerritt also mentioned the introduction of
in the late 1990s, the school bus system was introduced, and this was followed in the year 2010 or thereabout with the one-to-one laptop program, whereby every student was given a free laptop, thereby causing the students to cross that digital divide with regard to their education. This came with the introduction of Wi-Fi access in all schools, as well as free access to in community centers. This allowed students to be able to go online even if internet access was not available in the house.
Skerritt highlighted the recent landmark achievement.
The latest advancement in increasing access to education came late in 2023, when tertiary education was also made free of cost by the removal of the tuition charges at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. This institution incorporates the former Teachers College, Technical College, Nursing School, and the Sixth Form program. The late Mr. Bryant, after whom this institution was named, was the Minister of Education when the comprehensive project was embarked upon in 1968. To his credit, St. Kitts and Nevis enjoys a literacy rate of over 98%. Thank you, Chair.
CIDI's 9 ministerial and high-level meetings related to development highlight the unique value of the OAS. In this forum, member states can advance a consultative and holistic approach to policy formulation and decision-making at the hemispheric level, employing an all-of-government approach that integrates intersectoral and cross-cutting input for comprehensive development agendas. The focus on education aligns with CIDI's broader mandate to promote cooperation among member states for integral development and to help eliminate extreme poverty.
The name of fallen Kittitian stalwart Dawud Madada Byron has been etched in the annals of history. On Sunday, March 29, 2025, the green space adjacent to the Newtown playfield in East Bastia was officially opened and named the Youth on the Go Community Picnic Square in memory of the late Dawud Madada Byron. Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, parliamentary representative for East Bastia and the senior minister responsible for youth empowerment, reflected upon Mr. Byron's contributions to the country, emphasizing how deserving he is of such an honor.
I am honored to be a part of this initiative in naming this space in memory of the contributions that Madada would have made not only in East Bastia but on a national level. Indeed, he was a pusher for education, and I am a testimony of that. And many a times he ensured that classes were held at Massey's house for persons who were not able to pay for after-school class. He, along with Junior Liebert and others, ensured that many of us got an opportunity to gain additional subjects. He is one who I credit as well for my heavy involvement in the political arena. It's no secret, he was a champion for the people. He looked out for the people.
Dr. Hanley lauded the work of the East Bastia Youth on the Go and the Department of Constituency Empowerment's support in bringing the project to fruition.
I was happy when we met with the youth arm of the constituency and decided that we would do some projects in the constituency, and this was one of the projects that we are able to complete. And it was no hesitation at all in who will be the name of this picnic square. I want to thank the East Bastia Youths on the Go and all of the persons who facilitated this. It's a partnership, and I am ever grateful as well with the contributions from the constituency empowerment, with the guidance as to how we were able to access the grant.
Naela Bridgewater, Byron's granddaughter, summarized her grandpa's legacy in a poem she read during the ceremony.
In the heart of Saintness, his legacy stands tall, a stalwart of labor, beloved by all. With pen in hand, he shaped the truth, editor of voices, a champion of youth. Through the labor spokesman, his words took flight, illuminating justice, igniting the fight. A journalist's soul, steadfast and true, he painted the world in a laborer's hue. But not just in ink did his spirit soar. With trumpet in hand, he opened the door to melodies that dance in the island breeze, a musician's gift, bringing the heart to ease. Now, a picnic square will bear his name, a tribute to a man of enduring fame, Dawud Madada Byron, forever enshrined. In the rhythm of labor, his spirit aligned. Thank you.
Anguilla boasts the first accredited aviation rescue training facility in the Caribbean, and fire officers in St. Kitts and Nevis have an opportunity to build their skills and gain certification there. Having completed an international audit by the Joint Oil Fire Forum, the Anguilla Fire and Rescue Services training programs became accredited. The Anguilla Fire and Rescue Services offer one-day programs, 2 one-week-long programs, and an intended 4-week-long fire and rescue program. The training site features newly developed training props such as a pressure-fed aircraft mock-up and a confined space crawling unit, highlighting the importance of training for every possibility. At the Government of Anguilla press conference on Monday, March 31, 2025, Jose Vanterpool, Minister of Infrastructure, Communications, Utilities, Housing, IT and E-Government Services, said the facility has begun to receive trainees from overseas, whilst discussions are being had with authorities in St. Kitts and Nevis and other neighboring territories.
The JOF certified training programs are now offered locally, attracting regional fire and rescue professionals to come to Anguilla and to get certified. So as a practical example of this, at the moment, there are currently 45 firefighters from the BVI Airport Authority that are currently undergoing training here in Anguilla as we speak. There are also ongoing discussions with St. Bart's, St. Martin, St. Kitts, Nevis, and Antigua and Barbuda for future training programs. Myself and the Honorable Cordell Richardson would have been able to attend one of the live burn sessions, training sessions, and the feedback that we got from the firefighters from other jurisdictions to BVI was truly commendable. In fact, they were saying that they had a better experience at the training facility here than they did in the UK.
Authorities in St. Kitts and Nevis confirmed with WINN FM that discussions are ongoing regarding training for fire officials. It is anticipated that all trainees would gain valuable insights into the communication and coordination required when attending to emergencies.
The Kim Collins Athletic Stadium is undergoing significant upgrades, the particular focus right now on the track representing an investment exceeding $4 million. After completing the pavilion renovations, work continues on the track itself. According to Sports Minister the Honorable Samuel Duggins,
we had to replace the entire track. We know that this initially was done in 2008 under Minister Skerritt when he was the Minister of Sports. And since then, we had the minister then, which was the Honorable Glenn Ghost Phillip, rest in peace, put this entire facility to the public. We would have used Mondo as the track developer.
After consultations with the St. Kitts and Nevis National Athletic Association and Jamaica counterparts known for their regional leadership in track and field, the minister explored alternative track developers.
We recognize over the years and from consultation with the SKN AAA and counterparts in Jamaica, which we know has been leading the region in track and field, it was recommended to look into a number of other track developers, and we identified 3 and we had them fly in, evaluate the facility, and at the end Regapol was the one chosen.
He further noted the significance of this choice.
I must also say that Regapol is the surface that Usain Bolt's world record was set on.
Marina Trevisi, a technician from Regapool, Germany, provided details on the track system being installed.
This is the same system that we applied there in Berlin many years ago. Suitable for both sprinter or for long distance runner. It's not a hard track, it's not a soft track, it's something in between. So every athlete can be happy with it.
Minister Duggins concurred.
And so we see that this is international standard. And I could tell you from witnessing the work and the dedication and the attention to detail from the engineers at Regapol, I understand why.
Trevisi elaborated on the installation processes.
First of all, we put the black rubber. They will be fully glued on the asphalt. This is the first step. The second step is to sealing the rubber. The last coat, it's a sealing coat. First of all, it's a liquid coat that we put on the floor. This is a self-leveling coat, polyurethane, 2 compound based. And on top of it, we just throw the granule, we spray it on those liquid. So, and then we wait just 3-4 hours with this temperature to cure. and whatever the loose granule, we just collect it again and use it again.
Minister Duggins highlighted the benefits of the chosen technology.
The track technology, it was, in many persons' opinion, better for the athletes, safer, less impact on the knees, and even standing on the track, you feel that pushing in that spring that assists our athletes in protecting them, because we recognize that athletics really does a number on the body. And any way that we could assist our athletes for longevity, I think is important.
He also emphasized the ease of maintenance and repair.
And also the ability to repair the track if damaged. All these things worked well for us, and we thought that this was a company that we should go with. And that came with the SK and AAA's consultation, and also a number of other stakeholders that are critical to the sector. And this track is likely to last for many years.
Trevisi addressed concerns about the climate.
For the climate, it's not a big issue. In Germany, we also have outdoor facilities, yeah? And the temperature, it's more brutal than here. I've worked a lot in the Middle East, where summer it's like 50 degrees there, where the asphalt is melting. And the track, they are still perfect after 15 years.
Minister Duggins emphasized the government's commitment to sustainability and fiscal responsibility.
Well, we're talking about sustainability. And as a government, we believe that is a key driving factor for us in looking at the future. And sustainability comes with efficiency, optimization, and also fiscal prudency. While it was one of the better tracks in terms of technically, it was also one of those that we recognize was fiscally prudent. And even now, as we look at the longevity that we are predicting for this track, again, it means that the government will not have to spend much on this facility over the next 15, 20 years. And that's important.
Trevisi explained the track's simple maintenance requirements.
We have some tools here. We will leave them here for the people to use them for cleaning the track. Like we have a blower. They don't need absolutely no water to wash it. Just blowing once in a month, this is enough. If you have some damage in the future, it's very, very easy to repair. You don't need to remove all the track. You just remove those weak area. You glue the rubber again, you seal it, you put a new layer, and that's it.
Minister Duggins reiterated the government's investment in athletics.
This has been a huge undertaking for the government. I must say the track itself, that project is now pushing upward of $4 million, and we recognize that the government has been keen on supporting athletics and the development of our athletes, and so that money was invested here because this is our premier facility.
In regional news, St. Lucia's investment minister reassures public amid EU visa regulation proposal, DBS St. Lucia reports.
The European Parliament's Committee on Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, LIB, has voted to approve amendments to the European Union visa regulations that would target countries running citizenship by investment programs, CBIs. The committee voted to approve the changes on March 19th. On Monday's pre-cabinet presser, the investment minister addressed this development.
What the EU is doing now, the EU is saying, look, we have noticed that we've recognized the possibility for people with CIP citizenships to come into the EU and seek asylum. And therefore, because they have visa-free access, they can come in, and when they are in, they will claim asylum. So we want to put measures in place. If that should happen, then we can serve notice that, look, there is an escalation in persons with CIP passports seeking asylum, if it happens, and to alert the countries to do something about it, and if they do nothing about it, then to waive visa-free access. So what the EU is doing really is to add CIP to the existing list of persons that can qualify, can be asked to, countries that can be asked to take action because their citizens are violating the rules of the EU.
This proposal builds upon efforts that began in October 2023 when the European Commission first proposed adding CBI programs as grounds for suspending visa-free access. Dr. Haley, however, says there is no cause for concern on St. Lucia's part, citing a robust CBI program.
I know the Prime Minister went to the EU last year, and they had no issue with us, and we will again go and visit them, like a diplomatic visit, just to make sure there are no issues in St. Lucia. And we have a very robust and rigid due diligence process at the CIP, so we have no reason to be worried about it. What we have said to the EU is that we want to have open dialogue and communication on the matter. So if there is just one instance, now again the EU have thresholds. It's not if it happened once they will ask you to do something. If it goes above a certain limit, because they have thresholds, and I can share all the documents with you, so you can read it to see what it is. There's a certain threshold. If it starts happening above a certain frequency, then they will activate that mechanism.
The proposal must complete several steps before becoming law. The full European Parliament must vote on the committee's text in a plenary session. Then the Parliament and the European Council must negotiate and agree on a final version. For the DBS News World, Zain Romulus reporting.
Grenada's EU visa-free access at risk. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
Grenada is among several Caribbean nations that may face challenges to their visa-free access to the European Union, following a vote by the European Parliament's Committee on Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs. The committee approved amendments to the EU visa regulations targeting countries that operate citizenship by investment programs. Grenada, along with Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia, offer citizenship in exchange for financial investments. The proposed amendments aimed to address concerns regarding these programs. According to Investment Migration Insider Daily, the amendment was approved by the committee responsible for implementing the visa suspension mechanism with a vote of 41 in favor and 10 against. Thomas Anthony, CEO of the Investment Migration Agency in Grenada, revealed that as recent as January, a team from Grenada visited the EU to hold discussions.
We continue to work with the Europeans in terms of addressing some of the concerns that they have raised with us. We meet with them on a regular basis. As recent as in January this year, a delegation from Grenada, including the Prime Minister, myself, and the chairman of the program, were in London talking to UK representatives, US representatives, and the EU representatives. And so we continue to make changes to the program in keeping with some of the concerns that they have raised with us. And
the CEO highlighted some of the concerns raised by the EU and steps the IMA and government have to take to ensure the visa waiver remains in place.
So the most significant change that we're making collectively in the region is the regional regulator. You would have seen recently that the interim regional commission was in Grenada consulting. Before that, they were in Dominica and St. Kitts. This week, they'll be in St. Lucia. Next week, they'll be in Antigua. The aim is to have a draft legislation before policymakers next month. And beyond that, seeking to have the legislation before the various parliaments before the end of the summer, so that the Europeans would have indicated that this would give them some comfort that we are all operating on the same standards. So
when asked if this development raises concerns about whether Grenada's CBI program could do more harm than good, particularly for citizens who rely on visa-free travel, Anthony had this to say.
The Europeans' position, in my view, is an ideological position, in that the granting of citizenship to individuals without any what they call genuine link is unfamiliar to them. But the reality is we conduct very robust due diligence on these individuals. The Europeans' position, in my view, is an ideological position, in that the granting of citizenship to individuals without any what they call genuine link is unfamiliar to them.
The report further emphasized that to prevent the misuse of visa-free access, the EU should have the authority to suspend the visa exemption for any country that grants citizenship without requiring a substantial connection to the nation. Rena P. Thomas, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
We're going to return to events in the Middle East. The UN's children's agency UNICEF says at least 322 children are reported to have been killed in the 2 weeks since Israel's bombardment resumed in Gaza. They estimate that more than 600 have been wounded. Meanwhile, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said they've received no response from Israel to their request for information on the attack that killed 15 aid workers in Gaza. The UN says 8 Palestinian Red Crescent medical workers, 1 UN staff member and 6 civil defence workers were killed. 5 ambulances, a fire truck and a UN vehicle were hit one by one in the Al-Hashashin area on March 23rd. I've been speaking to our Middle East correspondent Dan Johnson in Jerusalem, and I asked him what justification Israel is giving for targeting a humanitarian convoy.
Israel's version of this incident is that it was opening fire on Hamas fighters, that it was targeting somebody in amongst those vehicles who it believed had been part of the October the 7th attacks on Israel. It says that it killed a Hamas figure as part of this incident, but we don't know where his body is, if that is true. His body is not amongst those that have been recovered in the last 48 hours by the UN and other international organisations, the Red Crescent and others who are involved in this, who had medics and rescue teams caught up in this. We don't know if his body was taken by the IDF and is perhaps being held. The Israeli military's justification for this attack is that they were taking out what they describe as a terrorist, and that the medics who were caught up in this were just inadvertently in the way. But Israel is being accused once again of being careless with the lives of innocent Palestinians, indeed Palestinian response emergency workers who should have had the protections of international law and the Geneva Conventions, although we understand they had not pre-cleared their access to that area. They were responding to reports of firing and injuries in that area close to Rafah, but they weren't able to guarantee safe passage with the Israelis when their ambulances and fire truck came under fire. It's taken a long time for the details of this incident to come out, more than a week before their bodies were found buried in sand, and the international organisations involved are saying that the fact that their vehicles and bodies were dug into the sand, were buried, is part of Israel's attempt to cover up exactly what has happened here. There are calls for an investigation. The Israeli authorities haven't even guaranteed that that will take place yet, but they have said they didn't just randomly open fire on ambulances and emergency teams. They say that those vehicles were moving suspiciously, that they didn't have their headlights or emergency lights illuminated, and that it perhaps wasn't clear to the soldiers exactly what vehicles they were opening fire on. The international agencies are saying that those vehicles were clearly marked, and it should have been obvious to the soldiers that they were not part of this conflict.
Sirens ring out in Mandalay, an official minute of silence for the victims of the quake. But no one told the survivors, who are confused and a little frustrated they're being left in the dark.
There's no internet, there's no electricity, no Wi-Fi, so I don't know anything about it.
The city's coming back to life, but basic services have stopped. In soaring temperatures, this is a major hygiene concern. Maine's water has failed, with pipes cracked and no electricity for pumps. At Mandalay General Hospital, they're under huge strain as patients spill out into the grounds. Across the city, there are shortages of beds, staff, and essential medications. The city just doesn't have the resources to handle a disaster on this scale.
We need specialist equipment for this, but there aren't any donors.
Even the basics are in short supply.
There's a handout of rice and cooking oil going on here. All this has been donated by a local shop, and they are very keen to show us this. They say this is all they can provide at the moment, but it's not enough. They want more international aid to come in, and they say they're getting nothing from the government.
The military wait and watch behind their checkpoints. They've taken very little role in rescue and recovery operations on the ground. Not even any relief for those who lost their homes. These people camping outside the grounds of Mandalay Palace moved on.
The authorities just came over to say we're not allowed to sleep here.
Homeless, hungry and ignored. All these people want is a safe place to sleep. Tony Chang, Al Jazeera, Mandalay.
A huge fire that raged for hours at a gas pipeline in Malaysia sent scores of people to hospitals on Tuesday. Eyewitness video shows the towering orange blaze in Puchong, on the outskirts of the capital, Kuala Lumpur. The pipeline is operated by state energy giant Petronas. Authorities said it was extinguished by mid-afternoon and that hundreds of people were affected. Some 190 homes were damaged, leaving some unable to return. Witnesses in evacuation centers described scenes of chaos that started with an explosion. Resident Evian Wee said she smelled a strong odor, then heard glass and debris falling. Wee said she looked outside when the noises stopped and saw buildings and cars on fire.
Really raging high.
Another resident said he didn't think it was serious until he saw how high the flames were. Those in hospital are being treated for burns, respiratory problems, and other injuries, authorities said. Petronas said it isolated the pipeline and was working closely with relevant parties to ensure the safety of the surrounding areas. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said the state government and Petronas would take full responsibility for restoring the area, adding that the process could take a year.
April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been calling April 2nd Liberation Day for weeks. It's the day he'll be unveiling an array of new tariffs that could upend the global trade system. Here's what to expect. Trump has threatened tariffs on all countries who, he says, have disadvantaged American goods and workers.
Many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many, many decades, for decades. And, that has to stop.
White House aides have drafted plans for tariffs of about 20% on most of the $3 trillion of goods imported annually to the U.S. That's according to the Washington Post, which says no final decision has been made. The report also said trillions of dollars made from new import revenue might be used for a dividend or refund to American taxpayers. A White House aide said any report ahead of tomorrow's event is mere speculation. Trump has already imposed tariffs on aluminum, steel, and autos, along with increased tariffs on all goods from China. That's raised tensions with America's largest trading partners and vows of retaliation. Trump argues that American workers and manufacturers have been hurt by free trade deals, which lowered barriers to global commerce. But economists warn that his tariffs will raise prices at home and abroad and hammer the global economy. A 20% tariff on top of the ones already imposed will cost the average U.S. household at least $3,400, according to the Yale University Budget Lab.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were St. Kitts and Nevis highlights education strides at OAS meeting.
New picnic square named in honor of Dawud Madada Byron. St. Kitts and Nevis fire officials in discussion about training opportunities by Anguilla's aviation rescue training facility.
Kim Collins Athletic Stadium track upgrades continue. St. Lucia's investment minister reassures public amid EU visa regulation proposal. Grenada's EU visa-free access at risk. Internationally, Israel has given no response after medics killed in Gaza. Thank you for listening.